Guess what? It just never ends. We're in for it today, folks. We really are. Hello to everyone on the internet. Welcome to Wednesday, maggots. January 30th. I am Nation of Washington. You're watching The Young Globalist, and this is the news on 2019. Oh boy! Alright, everybody. Oh, today's just one of those days. Presidential candidate Howard Schultz says that America belongs to illegal immigrants. You see what I mean? This is going to be one of those days. Howard Schultz is a wealthy bank owner and industrialist, so illegal immigration makes him and saves him a lot of money. So there you go. I mean, I'm laughing and crying simultaneously about this. He claims that he's a socially liberal, fiscally conservative centrist who would love to vote for a rational Democrat and get Trump out of the White House. Basically, says the CEO of one of the nation's largest banks, who, like a dozen other executives interviewed for this story, declined to be identified by name for fear of angering a volatile president. Personally, I'd love to see billionaire investor Mike Bloomberg run and get the nomination. I just never thought he could get the nomination the way primary process works. All across Wall Street and more in executive suites across the nation, corporate titans are trying to figure out how to navigate the 2020 presidential election. While some executives remain supportive of Trump, especially in industries like energy, given the president's approach to climate change, many recoil at his chaotic approach to governance and harsh approach to trade and immigration. Bottom line is, this guy's just another dumbocrat who supports illegal immigrants for his own personal gain. There's no such thing as a rational Democrat. There's such a thing as a social Democrat, as a socialist Democrat, but not a rational Democrat. This guy is just another wealthy industrialist, and while I really like Trump as president, I really love Trump as president, I have to admit, he's kind of opened the door, since he's a wealthy industrialist himself. He's kind of opened the door to other people in his particular class of person to try and achieve what he's achieved. And unfortunately, a lot of them are going to be neo-libs. So, I mean, there's a red lining here. There's an unfortunate precedent now for some of our less desirable, wealthy citizens to get in office and start constituting changes that could really fuck up the country. His justification for this amnesty to foreign illegals includes no rules that would prevent his huge amnesty from expanding into an open borders policy. According to Jessica Vaughn, policy director at the Center for Immigration. And this is a warning from a study where she was quoted saying this. Schultz's statement basically suggests that there is no such thing as an American, and that America is just a collection of anyone who wants to come, rather than a nation with laws and unique culture. He is speaking as if the concept of an American nation is obsolete or never was there to begin with. I agree with this conclusion. He thinks we're probably still like in the 1800s era America, where that was actually kind of true. But that is not true anymore. There is a solidified American culture. We are not immigrants anymore. We were once upon a time, but not anymore. This guy's just another democratic idiot who supports immigrants because, well, immigrants make him rich and powerful. So of course he supports them. This is why I say starve the beast and just no longer vote for any Democrats ever. I will always vote either Republican or third party from now on. fuck the Democrats, and I encourage all of my viewers to do the same. Because this guy's typical. I'd almost call him a cliche. Moving on before I make myself sick. Oh, but no, more Democratic news. Because the Dems want free college for dreamers. There's no such thing as free college. Okay? Someone's paying for it. But to give you a brief history of the Dreamers, the Dreamers are basically a form of illegal immigrants that were brought over the border as children, like 1, 2, maybe 3 years old, and so this is the only country they've ever known. I would say that makes them, from a legal standpoint, naturalized citizens. However, this does not entitle them to free anything. College is not an entitlement, it's a privilege. Straight up. And the problem with socialism is that socialist governments tend to spend their ill-gotten money in all the wrong places, and that it also needs big government in order to work, so it by default is tyrannical. And naturally, the Republican conservative response being, the measure is a slap in the face for all the hard-working taxpayers who play by the rules and struggle for the cost of a college education. This was by Republican State Senator Daphne Jordan concerning this bill. Jordan was joined by other Republican state legislators in criticism of the Democratic Act who argued it would unfairly take money away from illegal residents who struggle to pay their college tuition. And of course, the human dumpster fire that is Andrew Cuomo has yet to sign this bill into law. But if enough New Yorkers vote for it, he most certainly will. He'll jump right on that. And the Democrats will always support illegal immigrants over citizens because said immigrants will always vote for them. This is all about power, baby. It always is. Supporters of the DREAM Act say they will also consider allowing illegal immigrants to obtain driver's licenses and give them better housing protections. Cuomo has also expressed interest in forcing insurance companies to provide free contraceptive care. The face of socialism, my friends, right there. There's no such thing as free college. There's no such thing as free contraceptive care. Someone somewhere's paying for it. And they're usually paying for it under the threat of government force. That is socialism in a nutshell. It by default is tyranny. It by default is abuse. And this is the kind of country that the Democrats and the neoliberals want to turn this country into. Even some of the more classic liberals want that too. Some. And I'm just like, I'm just over here in moderate conservative town, leaning toward libertarian, leaning hard, saying, fuck you, you socialist piece of shit, who doesn't want to respect my rights and wants to take my money. Fuck you. As I said, as far as I'm concerned, the Dreamers should be considered naturalized citizens because this is the only country they've ever known. But that doesn't entitle them to free anything, okay? They should have to live a life and compete for everything they got just like the rest of us. They still have to get themselves a damn job or become self-employed, and they still got to make money the old-fashioned way. These socialist Democrats want to take all our little privileges and turn them into rights, only for certain people, the people they support, because those people support them. So, that's how that works. Oh, boy. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is now in a medical coma. The plan is that the Dems will basically keep her alive until Trump is out of office, and then replaced by a Democratic president, of course. If Trump gets yet another SCOTUS pick, he could move us away from the Democrats' neo-lib socialist agenda, which I'm hoping that is the case. And they're sitting on this. They're preventing people from realizing that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is sick. If people don't know, then they can't vote for her to be replaced with someone, you know, who's obviously decidedly more conservative and will actually support the Constitution instead of pretending to support the Constitution, as people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg so often tend to do. They're great pretenders. They got a better imagination than most children. Support the Constitution. Ha! You're right. Bottom line is, this is more of that deep state shit. It's like, I didn't want to think there was a deep state either, because it seemed too convoluted. But it seems now like there really is a deep state. And it's mostly comprised of the former administration of former President Barack Obama. But the existence of the deep state probably doesn't go any further back than that. It would seem to me that that this deep state is mostly comprised of Democrats and establishmentarians in an attempt to try and undermine Trump, because what he wants is not what they want. They basically want to turn this country into a socialist paradise. No such thing. Gotta remember, one man's utopia is another man's dystopia. A fool's paradise is a wise man's hell. Of course, I suppose it is better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven. That's probably what they're thinking. Bottom line is, both I and others like me are going to try and keep putting that truth out there, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is sick and needs to be replaced, and hopefully replaced with someone who will actually stand for the Constitution. Trump needs that next SCOTUS pick. Then you can have 3 of his dudes on the Supreme Court and end all this nonsense. Moving on to our final story today. The CIA's bizarre schemes to kill Fidel Castro. Now, I understand the CIA's function, and personally I would love to see them abolished, but many of their crazy schemes are like something straight out of a freaking comic book to kill Fidel Castro, including exploding cigars that would like blow up on his face when he smoked it. That's like something straight out of Looney Tunes. Exploding clamshell when he goes deep-sea diving, because that was one of his hobbies. Tuberculosis-laced diving suit. Ugh. And a poisoned strawberry milkshake. This came up recently in an investigation of the CIA's history of meddling in Cuba. Like, for instance, did you know that the CIA once planned to, under President Kennedy, once planned to kill a bunch of innocent American citizens and then blame it on the Cubans so they could go to war? Yeah, straight-up false flag. CIA literally stands for criminally insane assholes, as far as I'm concerned. These people are nuts, and they should be abolished immediately. Oh, and any former CIA agent that has any sort of significant criminal history should immediately be put on trial. A fair trial, where they'll be fairly represented, and they may or may not go to prison. But anyway, that's it for the Young Globalist today, folks. I'm out.